Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping ourselves in and diving headfirst into a chronicle of just absolute chaos, contraptions, and, well, catastrophic ambition.
That's right. We are examining the shared source material detailing the lives and works of two exiled masters. You have Vinderi, the man who deals in, let's call it, explosive dismantling.
A nice way to put it.
And then you have Isla, the inventive, brilliant, and you could argue equally dangerous engineer. And for you listening, these aren't just biographies.
No, not at all.
We're treating these accounts as raw, immediate chronicles. Think of them like forensic reports from the very front line of engineered anarchy.
Our mission today is, well, it's a big one. We really need to dissect the why,
Yes.
the core motivations that can drive a genius mind toward, essentially, criminality.
We'll be analyzing the immediate power dynamics, those moments where agency is just lost or seized,
Yeah.
and the intense psychological weight of living a life that is defined by creating intentional high-stakes chaos.
We have to get to the bottom of the foundational moments that broke them, and then rebuild them as these agents of utter anarchy, operating completely outside conventional law.
And we're dealing with minds that are so focused on their craft, be it science or destruction, that collateral damage is, well, it's just factored into the equation. It's part of the cost of doing business.
So, here's the core philosophical question for our deep dive today. How does a genius reconcile that internal desire, that need for technical perfection or ultimate vengeance, with the unavoidable trail of, well, acid, glowing rocks, political upheaval, and planned deicide they inevitably leave behind?
It's a heavy question.
It is. Let's unpack the stories of Vinderi and Isla and try to analyze the blueprints of their chaos.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack the Vinderi character right away. The very first thing we learn about him is his persona. It's immediately boastful, it's transactional.
Oh, completely. He's the self-proclaimed expert in what he calls the explosive arts. There's absolutely no ambiguity about what he does or what he offers.
Right. He is a professional demolitions expert, but the way he talks about it, it's like an art form to him.
It is. He makes it crystal clear that if you want something or someone or several someones turned into an unrecognizable smoldering mess, he is, and this is his phrase, more than happy to oblige.
That confidence, that boastfulness, it's so crucial to his character, isn't it?
It is. It's the assurance of a technician who has mastered his material to such an extent that he feels, I don't know, almost immune to consequence, even if his moral compass is, well, it's long gone.
And we immediately see that expertise applied in maybe the most high-stakes scenario you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Attempted deicide.
Yeah.
The Chronicle gives us this intensely detailed, almost suffocating account of Vinderi, deep within the catacombs beneath the square.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is not just the act itself, but the sheer logistical calculation that's required for this. This ultimate act of destructive defiance.
He's not just carrying a small satchel, is he?
Not even close. He's burdened by a huge sack of the blue stuff on his back. Azurite powder. This is highly regulated, industrial-grade explosive material we're talking about.
So that speaks to both his resources and his intent, right? This was planned as a guaranteed demolition.
Absolutely. The intensity of the planning really comes through in the narrative detail. You get this image of him deliberately laying an expensive fuse trail.
Winding its way back to the storehouse.
Exactly. So he can find his way out in the pitch darkness after he sets the charge. He even pauses to acknowledge the cost. He says the powder cost me an arm and a leg.
Which underscores that this was a planned, high-resource investment. It was all focused on a singular, epic-defining objective.
This wasn't a spontaneous act of rage. Not at all. This was a dedicated, financially crippling effort to execute a kind of political and spiritual vengeance.
And the target, of course, is the High Templar's office. He places the entire massive pile of powder directly under the office.
With the explicit intent to blow him back to innocence.
Right. And for anyone listening who might not be deep in the lore, innocence is the regent's concept of a deity, the divine spiritual essence.
So this is intended to be a literally apocalyptic, God-shattering event. He's trying to unmake a god.
The woven interiority we get here, the insight into his thoughts, is just crucial for understanding his motivation in that exact moment.
It is. He accepts his own death. He sees it as an inevitable part of mission success. He actually thinks to himself, this is where it ends for me, but at least I'll blow that high pain in the R skyward.
The stakes are as high as they can get. It's self-immolating vengeance. A fulfillment of a destructive ideal. He saw himself as a martyr for chaos.
And then everything changes.
Here's where the narrative tension in our forensic analysis of this moment, it just peaks. The fuse is lit. He hears that initial expectant hiss.
The sound of success to him.
Exactly. But then an external threat emerges. He sees the blue light of the fuse turn an angry red, and it's moving towards him and moving quickly.
That red light, it represents everything he's fighting against. It's the immediate impending Templar authority that is about to end his vengeance and his life, but maybe prematurely.
He had prepared for the explosion. He had prepared for the ruin, for his own death. He braced for impact. He accepted the consequence.
But the turning point is that unexpected interruption. The hissing just stops. The angry red light vanishes.
And in the darkness that follows, only a silhouette remains.
And the figure is described with this impossible stature. Tall as a man ever was. Taller than Tibbs. It's a literal, massive, almost supernatural obstruction standing between him and his desire for self-immolation and vengeance.
And the power dynamic shifts. It shifts instantaneously and just brutally.
Because the figure doesn't initiate violence. It simply asserts control through this commanding presence, shouting, "Put it down, it's not worth the trouble. Come, it's time to go."
This is the exact moment Vinderi's defiant agency just shatters into a million pieces.
It does. This external interruption, this immediate, overwhelming display of superior control, and crucially, of potential rescue, it turns the revolutionary into a devotee in a split second.
He immediately goes from being an independent actor willing to die for his cause to a subject who is willing to submit. He starts running toward the figure.
This sudden savior becomes, in his mind, the eternal ideal, a statue, a perfect specimen. It's instant idolization.
The psychological trauma here, when you really break it down, is immense. He sacrifices his deepest, most destructive goal, his vengeance, and his literal planned existence right there on the spot.
He internally swears he will follow this person as far as he will have me. It's this desperate, instantaneous transfer of loyalty. He's seeking meaning in the very man who stopped his destruction.
And this leads directly and so tragically to the ultimate betrayal.
He's running toward his perceived savior. His eyes are adjusting in the gloom. The beautiful man extends his hand.
Vinderi reaches out and he feels, in his words, electricity between us.
This electricity, which Vinderi interprets as this moment of connection, of trust,
is a brutal, instantaneous trap.
The extended hand, the symbol of rescue, snaps a manacle around his wrist.
Arrested for attempted deicide and possession of a dangerous substance. It is a complete emotional and physical violation.
And he immediately describes his captor with this venomous term, the pig. The love turns to hate in an instant.
And the consequence is immediate, and it's Stefan, exile. A fate worse than the death he had planned for himself.
This is the core psychological takeaway for Vinderi. His self-sworn loyalty is immediately crushed and replaced by cold necessity. He begins working for the boss out of pragmatic need, not the devotion he had so quickly and so wrongly offered.
Right. His initial profound sense of loyalty was used as the precise tool to ensnare him and exile him. It forced him to continue his criminal genius, but now without that driving, purifying passion of vengeance he once had.
So if you look at the immediate consequence, his life of crime is no longer a path to martyrdom. It's just a transactional mechanism for survival.
All initiated by the failure of his greatest act of defiance and the trauma of that immense betrayal.
Exactly.
So moving on from that intense psychological drama of his exile, let's look at how Vinderi actually conducts his business in the aftermath. It's fascinating because he frames these highly illegal, high-stakes raids, which are basically corporate espionage and grand larceny, as something utterly mundane.
We're calling this the grocery list paradox.
It's perfect.
It truly is the criminalization of precision. When he reviews a contract, which is detailing an elaborate heist plan, he treats it exactly like he's checking off items on a shopping list.
He even acknowledges the irony of it, doesn't he?
He does. He notes they're targeting an alchemy storehouse he's not supposed to know exists, collecting powders, ichors, and minerals, and instead of paying for them, they're going to steal them.
And he pulls back the curtain for a second, saying, so in that sense, it is very unlike a grocery list.
Yeah.
But the framing itself is an attempt to normalize the extreme danger and criminality of what they're doing.
And the analysis of that list itself. It details an incredibly precise, almost obsessive technical mind. This is a mind applied to pure
He's
theft.
not just grabbing random vials off a shelf.
No, no. He needs specific, highly dangerous, and regulated components. He casually instructs his partner not to drop just the usual highly illegal compounds. It's so casual.
We really must pause here to analyze the components because this is where his engineering genius, his specific brand of it, really resides.
The list is meticulously specific. He needs 33 qubits of cerulean alloy thread.
Okay, let's break that down. An alloy thread suggests high tensile strength, maybe high conductivity, and if it's cerulean, a deep blue.
It might suggest a connection to azurite or some other chemically stable, high-value material. This isn't for, structural support. This is likely for complex wiring, for timing circuits, or for the controlled delivery of a massive electrical or chemical charge.
That attention to precision just continues with the powder. He requires half an ounce of vitriolic talc.
Right, vitriolic. That suggests something highly corrosive or acidic, far beyond your basic mineral components.
And talc is normally benign, so it's being used as a carrier for something caustic.
Exactly. It's likely meant to degrade targets quickly or perhaps act as a stabilizing agent for a highly volatile explosive mixture. This isn't just about blowing something up. It's about making sure the resulting mess is untraceable and toxic.
And then there's the strangely domestic inclusion, 2 quarts of Bishop-blessed cleansing alcohol.
This is one of my favorite details. Why would a criminal engineer specify blessed alcohol?
What's the thinking there?
Well, the source implies that the blessing might be part of its regulatory status, or perhaps it's a specific purified grade required for highly sensitive chemical interactions, which is then made expensive by that ecclesiastical stamp of approval.
And he says the alcohol is for me.
Which adds this bizarre layer of fastidious habit to a high-risk operation. It suggests a personal ritual of cleanliness, or maybe a necessary solvent for his own protective gear.
The point is, the meticulous nature of these measurements and materials, it just underscores that Vinderi is a highly disciplined engineer. His goal may be chaos, but his execution requires illicit, expensive precision.
Which leads us to a key moment of intellectual friction. If Vinderi is so meticulous and he lives for the thrill of the good crime, why does he allow such a massive failure of planning to occur?
Ah, yes. Here's where we run into the immediate crisis, the unexpected omission. Vinderi, the great dismantling genius who plans deicide down to the qubit thread, misses one single ingredient.
He just stops, utterly panicked, realizing, where's the fumarole tar? Don't tell me I forgot the fumarole tar.
This small administrative failure, it's the equivalent of forgetting milk on a grocery run, is immediately framed as a massive technical roadblock.
Without the tar, he declares, his efforts are worthless, equivalent to baking a tray of Keth flatbread, which, as you know, is the most basic, unadorned, and unexciting meal imaginable.
That analogy tells you everything about the linchpin nature of components in his engineering. In his world, a missing piece doesn't just reduce efficiency.
No, it renders the entire precise effort worthless. The whole crime is invalidated by a forgotten ingredient.
So here's the profound psychological twist. If Vinderi's an expert, and his trauma came from his greatest destructive act being stopped by an external ideal,
Go on.
is it possible that forgetting the fumarole tar wasn't a failure of organization, but a subconscious mechanism to keep the criminal chase going?
That's a fascinating reinterpretation.
By failing slightly, he immediately earns another contract, another good crime, to fix his own oversight. It allows him to stay in the chaos he now needs for survival.
A necessary failure that ensures the continuation of his transactional criminality. I like that.
And this failure leads directly into his next ambitious project, the contract to acquire the fumarole tar, which then leads to the creation of the Vinderi bomb.
And this is where he fully embraces his core identity again. He's chomping at the bit.
The motivation here, it shifts from that cold necessity we talked about back toward pure, unadulterated passion for destructive innovation.
He usually deals in controlled explosions, but he explicitly says he loves an uncontrolled explosion. He recognizes the human cost. Whoever's nearby, that's who. But he just dismisses that collateral damage for the sake of the spectacle.
He describes his internal feeling. He says, "I feel like a child again," and outright declares his ethos. "Gods, I love crime. I just love doing a good crime."
The Vinderi bomb becomes his legacy. But he clarifies that it's not the device itself.
No, it's the ruins it will leave in its wake that will ensure his permanence. He's seeking immortality through mass destruction.
The tension builds so expertly as he finishes the bomb. He asks the exile his partner if they should try it out, noting, "We only get one attempt. Let's do it."
And you, the listener, are fully expecting mutual annihilation at this moment. It's mirroring his self-immolation plan from the very beginning.
And this final moment of tension, when he pretends to detonate the completed bomb, is the ultimate reveal about his deeper psyche.
The tension release is just pure theatrical performance.
He bellows, laughing, "Did you really think I was about to blow us all to innocence?" Before revealing his explodey make good lookers.
Fireworks.
Fireworks, a business in fireworks, the irony, the sheer audacity of this man.
But this stunt, it reveals that his deepest drive is not purely destruction, right? It's performance, it's acknowledgement. He's the maestro of mayhem.
Precisely. He calls it a show of gratitude. It's an explicit need to engage, to shock his partner, and to prove that despite his age, despite his dramatic failure with the High Templar, he still holds power.
He still has a little pop left in my powder keg.
His engineering chaos is ultimately a method of self-expression. It's a way to ensure he remains visible and, more importantly, respected in the only world that's left to him.
Okay, let's pivot now.
Yeah.
We're moving from the explosive specialist who's seeking validation through destruction to the inventive engineer seeking perfection through mechanism.
We shift from Vinderi's highly precise chaos to Isla's precise yet equally damaging construction.
Isla's introduction establishes her core identity immediately. She is the master of mechanics. She can take them apart as fast as I put them together.
But her defining characteristic is her immediate, uncontrollable distraction. It suggests a mind that is always moving faster than her conversation partners.
She interrupts herself mid-introduction.
She does. She declares she has an idea just now for a spinning device that, before pivoting immediately back to the matter at hand, her fascination is with pure, unrestrained movement and complex mechanisms.
She is intellectual chaos incarnate. And like Vinderi, her exile is born of massive collateral damage.
But unlike Vinderi, who was seeking vengeance, Isla's damage was simply, the cost of doing business.
The genesis of her destruction is so clinical, isn't it? She admits her exile was due to the damage I caused in the process of building them, referring to her early prototypes.
And she dismisses the wreckage with this chillingly cavalier attitude. She's already rationalized the human and environmental toll. She asks, what's a few implosions in the pursuit of progress?
That nonchalance, it masks a genuinely catastrophic history. We get specific details on the trail of damage that led to her expulsion, highlighting just how dangerous her early work actually was.
These weren't lab spills, these were geopolitical incidents.
Right.
The source material is explicit about the catastrophic failures that forced her out of the ordered world. We are talking about events that permanently altered the landscape.
Specifically, the sea tide of acid and the glowing rock that made people sick.
Let's break that down for a moment. A sea tide of acid. This implies a mechanism of such colossal scale that its failure produced an ecological disaster affecting an entire coastal region or waterway.
This is industrial-level damage. It's far beyond what Vinderi's single bomb attempt could ever achieve.
And the glowing rock that made people sick implies radiological or extreme toxic waste. This suggests her work was volatile not just structurally, but chemically or perhaps energetically. She was introducing elements of long-term public health risk.
So these were not minor accidents. These were massive environmental and public health disasters, and they were all just precursors to her greatest achievements.
So for Isla, the cost of progress is measured not just in materials and time, but in industrial waste, widespread contamination, and poisoning. Her early work was inherently volatile and dangerous on a massive, almost world-altering scale.
This means her focus in Rayclast is intensely emotional, though it's filtered through this intellectual need. She desperately needs to recover her lost work.
She refers to her inventions with deep affection, almost like they're her children. My inventions, my babies, I miss them so much.
This is a critical psychological distinction from Vinderi, I think. For Vinderi, the product, the bomb, is a means to an end. It's for vengeance or for payment.
But for Isla, the product is an extension of herself. Her intellectual property is her offspring. If she can't retrieve them, she loses a part of her intellectual identity.
She explains that she couldn't recreate them in exile due to two major factors.
The lack of proper materials and the presence of horrific creatures. This highlights the unique environment of exile. The materials she needs for her level of high-precision, dangerous engineering simply aren't available in Rayclast.
So she has to retrieve her original blueprints and prototypes, her identity, rather than trying to build anew in this hostile, resource-poor environment.
Her power dynamic is completely different from the warriors and bandits around her. Nanette, one of the others in exile, offers this really telling observation. She says Isla is quite kind, but possesses a unique strength born of machines and intellect rather than fighting skill.
That defines her unique brand of dominance, doesn't it?
It does. She wins through superior design and intellectual comprehension, not through brute force. She is intellectually dominant over her physical environment and its inhabitants.
And that's a crucial distinction. In a world full of fighters, murderers, and monsters, Isla's true weapon is her mind and her blueprints. It solidifies her status as a different but equally formidable threat.
She is the quiet mastermind whose past failures are more catastrophic than the most successful bandit raid.
Which brings us to what really amounts to a high-stakes intellectual property war against the Templars, an entity she views as being beneath her scientific principles.
Exactly. When Isla finally starts analyzing the prototypes she's recovered, she realizes the Templars didn't just confiscate them under the guise of heresy. They had been meticulously examined.
And this realization triggers her defining moment of fury. She understands immediately that the Templars must have lied about declaring my work heretical.
The original intention was never suppression. It was exploitation. They weren't afraid of the damage her work could cause. They wanted to harness her chaos-inducing technology for their own institutional gain.
This realization fundamentally shifts her entire mission, doesn't it? It goes from simple emotional retrieval to active ideological sabotage.
Yes. The immediate consequence of Templar control is this immediate fear of disaster they'll bring upon us. Her ethical line is drawn right here, and it's a scientific, professional one.
It's not about being a good person. It's about ensuring her genius is not corrupted or misused by what she sees as intellectually inferior forces.
As she states, science deserves better masters than the Templars. It's her personal declaration of war.
Let's spend some time detailing the arsenal of stolen designs, because this really underscores the terrifying scope of her genius.
Okay. She lists these highly ambitious, almost fantastical projects designed to manipulate fundamental forces of nature. You have the extreme warmth beam, the storm wooing rod, the mind sublimator.
And most critically, the unbreakable.
Let's quickly analyze the implied capabilities here. An extreme warmth beam implies directed energy weapon technology. We're not talking about fire, but focused thermal output.
Capable of reducing fortifications or neutralizing biological targets instantaneously. The engineering behind controlling that kind of extreme energy would be astronomical.
And the storm wooing rod suggests meteorological control, the ability to summon or redirect massive weather patterns. This is god-level technology being stolen.
And maybe the most insidious of all is the mind sublimator,
which suggests neurolinguistic or psychological control. This goes beyond physical destruction and enters the realm of political manipulation and mass behavioral modification. It's terrifying stuff.
The really terrifying revelation, though, is that these aren't just disparate weapons. There's a unifying goal here.
The crucial source revelation is that these were all related, eventually intended to be part of one single superweapon. The Templars weren't just stealing parts, they were stealing the schematic for a unified, high-level technological threat.
A system capable of environmental, psychological, and physical dominance.
That tension quickly escalates into an immediate crisis. Isla realizes the designs for the Unbreakable, the component that ties the whole system together, were already missing from the recovered hull.
Her fear solidifies. The Templars may have begun construction on it, and if they complete it, she believes they'll never be able to break it.
This is the immediate existential threat to her goals and potentially to all of Reclast.
Then comes that critical moment of confirmation. Isla's instruments just go haywire.
Confirming her greatest achievement is active and functional somewhere nearby. And there is an immediate, profound internal conflict here. It's a mix of parental pride and immediate terror.
The Chronicle captures this perfectly. Her first response is one of pure academic joy, almost maternal pride. Normally, I would be thrilled at seeing my work given life.
But that is instantaneously eclipsed by strategic fear. It will be used against us, not for us.
Which is why she instantly pivots to deconstruction. She needs her partner, the Exile, because they are good at smashing things. It highlights her reliance on brute force only when her intellect demands it.
So the final crucial interaction is analyzing the act of breaking her own creation. She has to commit technological deicide to save the world from her own unchecked genius.
Her battle cry during that confrontation? Stop. in the name of science. It perfectly encapsulates the irony of her position, doesn't it?
It really does. She must destroy her life's achievement to uphold her scientific values and prevent its corrupt application. This destruction is an act of intellectual purification for her.
And the immediate consequence of the unbreakable being broken is not despair or defeat. It's this intense, almost narcissistic validation. This is where her intellectual dominance proves its worth.
Exactly. Instead of mourning her baby and her proudest work, the moment it is broken, she analyzes the failure and realizes the triumphant truth. The Templar didn't build it right.
Her vindication comes not from mission success, but from the technical failure of her enemies to replicate her genius.
She still holds the ultimate knowledge, the blueprints, and the core understanding of its correct function. The power is immediately restored to her not because the threat is eliminated,
But because she is proven to be the superior engineer. The Templars, in their rush to exploit her work, were ultimately defeated by their own lack of technical understanding.
and she immediately resolves to continue her work, not just to fix the problem, but, in her words, to prove it can be done.
Which just confirms that her drive is progress, perfection, and intellectual dominance above all else, even if that means risking future environmental and public catastrophe.
A chilling thought.
So we've examined Vinderi and Isla individually, we've delved into their traumatic origins and their methods, but they both operate within the gravitational pull of this figure they call the boss.
Yes. How do these two chaotic, brilliant minds view the central figure of their exile?
There's a clear contrast, and it's based on their respective areas of expertise.
Isla, the mechanist, views the boss with profound distrust and technical skepticism, which is, for her, the highest form of critique she can offer.
Right. She sees the boss as an inefficient mechanism, a spinning gear machine made of secret parts.
She is intellectually repulsed by ambiguity. She distrusts what she cannot understand, control, or blueprint.
Her primary technical principles that you should never rely on is a mechanism you don't understand, because mechanisms are inherently liable to implode or explode.
So her analysis of the boss is essentially a damning engineering critique of chaotic, opaque management. His methods lack the precision and predictability she demands, even though his results are, well, undeniable.
Vinderi, on the other hand, works for the boss, because he was forced into exile by the High Templar who betrayed his idealism. For him, the relationship is purely transactional.
It's a necessary means to continue his existence and fund his next good crime, filling that emotional void left by his destroy ideal of vengeance.
This contrast really highlights their underlying psychological drives, doesn't it?
It does. Isla is driven by the pure, uncorrupted ideal of science and demands operational excellence, even from her criminal master. Vinderi is driven by survival and the desire to re-engage in chaos after his ideals were so brutally crushed. The boss gives Vinderi structure, the boss gives Isla anxiety.
To illustrate the boss's chaotic management style and the incredibly high personal stakes involved in his objectives, we have the definitive anecdote, the air sale job.
Ah, yes. This story perfectly encapsulates the amoral efficiency that guides their entire organization.
This story is fantastic because it centers on a spectacular technical success followed by a catastrophic human failure.
Isla told Kurai the job was impossible because of the technical requirements. Yet the boss ordered the air sail built anyway.
And the device worked. The poor sod they hired for the flight, a human test pilot basically, was launched to the target tower. He achieved a perfect parabolic arc.
That is scientific and technical success. It validates Isla's inherent abilities, even if she deemed the plan itself reckless.
But the immediate unresolved consequence is the critical philosophical lesson embedded in the source material. The pilot survived the trip too, judging by the screaming.
The fact that they can hear the screaming confirms the flight was a success, but the landing was anything but.
Why was the landing unresolved?
Because the boss never ordered a falling machine.
That simple phrase is the key to understanding the entire ecosystem of chaos they live in.
It is. The flying machine worked, but the landing machine, the mechanism for safe deceleration, recovery, and human survival, was never contemplated. The boss's philosophy focuses only on achieving the immediate stated objective, regardless of human safety, employee retention, or collateral damage.
And what's so darkly humorous about this is the casual acceptance of it all. Mission success, 100%. Employee survival rate, significantly lower.
This singular focus on the objective, divorced from consequence, is a philosophy both Vinderi and Isla implicitly adopt in their own destructive pursuits.
Precisely. Isla's acid tides, the glowing rock that made people sick. Vinderi's embrace of the uncontrolled explosion.
They are their personal technological manifestations of the boss's no falling machine principle. They are all willing to achieve the goal, no matter the cost to the world or the people around them.
Ultimately, the unifying thread here is their self-identity. Both Vinderi and Isla define themselves by their ability to manipulate materials, explosives versus complex machines, to achieve highly specific, high-risk outcomes. They believe their knowledge gives them superiority.
They share an exile born of collateral damage and technological recklessness. Their creations are their legacies, whether that legacy is the spectacular ruin of the Vinderi bomb or the theoretical unified perfection of the unbreakable.
They are two sides of the same coin. Genius applied exclusively to destabilizing the status quo and proving their intellectual dominance to a world that betrayed or undervalued them.
A perfect summary.
We've spent a substantial amount of time today unpacking the chronicles of Vinderi, the failed revolutionary turned proud criminal, and Isla, the exiled genius engineer whose passion for prototypes created environmental catastrophes.
These are two minds who found freedom, or at least utility, in exile, using their specific genius to wage war against the authorities, one stolen blueprint and one blue powder trail at a time.
We've analyzed that Vinderi's core drive is the thrill of crime and destruction. He's seeking permanence in ruins and validation in performance.
And Isla's greatest love is science and intellectual perfection, seeking validation in functional, complex superweapons.
But if we look at the historical record of their actions, the planning of ultimate deicide, the creation of a sea tide of acid, a glowing rock that made people sick, the theft of a unified superweapon intended for global threat, it becomes clear that their genius is intrinsically linked to chaos.
They are not rebels. They are highly efficient agents of destruction.
This raises the final important question for you, the listener, to consider as you contemplate the nature of unchecked ambition.
When genius operates with that singular focus of the boss achieving the objective regardless of the cost, does their genius simply become another highly efficient form of chaos? And if so, are Vinderi and Isla more dangerous to the world when they are successfully building their perfect destructive machines or when they are forced, in the name of technical superiority, to break them?
Something to mull over as you contemplate your own legacies and the price of perfection. Until the next deep dive, stay curious.